The judgment. The discovery. The warning came without mercy. Captain Michael Torres stood on the bridge of the ESS Pathfinder when the transmission arrived. His crew fell silent as the message played across every screen. Images of devastation filled the displays. 3 colony worlds belonging to the Sarthi species lay in ruins. Cities that once held millions were now empty graveyards. The biological agent that killed them had been swift and terrible. The Galactic Assembly was demanding answers. The genetic markers in the weapon pointed directly to human origin. Torres felt his stomach twist. He had served Earth's diplomatic fleet for 15 years. He knew humanity's values. This attack violated everything humans believed in. Someone had made a terrible mistake, or worse, someone was lying. Within hours, every human ship in galactic space received the same order. Return to the assembly station immediately for emergency proceedings. No exceptions. No delays. Torres set course for the massive orbital structure that served as the government center for 43 different species. He had always admired that station. It represented cooperation and peace across vast distances. Today it felt like sailing toward execution. The trial. The assembly chamber could hold thousands. Today it held representatives from every member species, and they all watched Torres as he entered. The atmosphere was thick with anger and fear. He walked to the center platform, feeling exposed under the harsh lights. Above him, holographic displays showed the evidence in brutal detail. The Sarthi ambassador spoke first. Her voice carried the weight of unimaginable loss. She described children who never woke up, families that died together, entire generations erased in a single night. 3 billion souls. The number was so large it felt abstract, but Torres forced himself to understand. 3 billion individuals, each with hopes and dreams, all gone. The prosecution presented their case with devastating efficiency. Human genetic sequences in the biological weapon. Human cargo ships near the affected worlds in the weeks before the attacks. Communication intercepts showing human scientists discussing biological research. Financial records indicating humanity had been seeking the rare minerals found on those exact colony worlds. Every piece of evidence pointed the same direction. Torres tried to defend his species. He explained that the genetic markers could be fabricated. He noted that human ships traveled those trade routes regularly for legitimate business. He argued that someone with resources and knowledge could frame humanity perfectly. His words fell on deaf ears. The representatives wanted justice, not theories about conspiracies. The evidence. The Kelthros delegate presented the final proof. The Kelthros were an ancient species, respected throughout the galaxy for their scientific expertise. When they spoke, others listened. Their analysis of the biological weapon was thorough and damning. The base genetic structure matched human DNA with 97% accuracy. The delivery mechanism showed design principles consistent with human medical technology. The targeting proteins were engineered using techniques that only human researchers had published papers about. Torres watched his defense crumble. How could he argue against such detailed analysis? The Kelthros had no reason to lie. They had been neutral in galactic politics for centuries. If they said the evidence was real, the assembly would believe them. He looked around the chamber, searching for any hint of support. The Draxian representative, who had once called humanity promising newcomers, now avoided his gaze. The Inthian delegation, who had signed trade agreements with Earth just months ago, sat stone-faced and silent. Only the Mira spoke in humanity's defense. They were a small species with little political power. Their representative argued that humanity's history showed no pattern of genocide. Humans had fought wars among themselves, yes, but they had also built peace. They had overcome their own prejudices and united their world. Would such a species really commit mass murder for minerals? The argument was passionate but ultimately futile. The Myra's voice carried no weight against the evidence. The verdict? The vote took less than an hour. 40 species voted to find humanity guilty of genocide and crimes against all galactic civilizations. Only 3 voted for innocence. The sentence came immediately afterward. Humanity would be expelled from the Galactic Assembly. All trade agreements were void. All diplomatic relations severed. Every jump gate leading to human space would be sealed. Earth and its colonies would be quarantined completely. Any human ship attempting to leave the designated zone would be destroyed without warning. Any human trying to communicate with galactic civilization would be ignored. Humanity would exist in total isolation until such time as the Assembly decided otherwise. The Eternal Arbiter, who presided over the Assembly, made clear that this isolation would last generations at minimum, perhaps forever. Torres felt the weight of history crushing down on him. He was witnessing the end of humanity's place among the stars. Everything his species had worked for, all the dreams of cosmic brotherhood, died in that chamber. He wanted to scream, to fight, to make them understand. Instead, he stood quietly as security officers approached. They escorted him from the chamber without violence but without kindness either. The isolation. The journey back to Earth took 3 days through the jump gate network. Torres used that time to send messages to every human ship he could reach. Get home now. The gates are closing. Some made it. Others did not. The transport vessel Promise, carrying 2,000 colonists to a new settlement, was trapped on the wrong side when the gates sealed. They begged for mercy. The assembly ignored them. Eventually, the Promise's fuel ran out. Everyone aboard died slowly in the cold of space. Earth's government received Torres and his crew in silence. President Alexandra Reeves met them in a bunker deep beneath the Capitol. She looked older than her 50 years. The exile had aged her overnight. She listened to Torres's report without interruption. When he finished, she asked only one question. Do you believe we are guilty? Torres answered immediately. No, Madam President. Someone did this to us. Reeves nodded slowly. Then we need to prove it. But first we need to survive. She activated a holographic display showing Earth's strategic situation. The isolation was nearly complete. 30 human colonies existed beyond Earth, scattered across a dozen star systems. Most could survive without galactic trade but barely. Several faced critical shortages of advanced medical supplies. 2 colonies had populations too small to maintain genetic diversity without new arrivals. Earth itself had problems. The planet depended on materials from asteroid mining operations that used jump gates for transport. The decision. Reeves gathered Earth's leadership council. Military commanders, scientific advisors, economic ministers, and colonial governors joined through quantum communication links. The discussion lasted 18 hours. Some argued for immediate aggressive action. Send the fleet to force open the gates. Others advocated complete submission. Accept guilt and beg for mercy. A few suggested desperate measures like attacking galactic shipping to take what humanity needed. Reeves rejected all these options. Instead, she proposed something different. Total silence. Humanity would accept the isolation without protest or resistance. Let the galaxy think humans were broken and contained. Meanwhile, Earth and the colonies would focus entirely on survival and advancement. Without galactic restrictions on technology, humanity could pursue research that had previously been forbidden. Genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, quantum weapons, all the fields that the Assembly had declared too dangerous. The Council debated this strategy intensely. Some called it cowardice. Reeves called it practical. We cannot win a war against 40 species. We cannot negotiate when they will not listen. But we can prepare. We can grow stronger. And when the time comes, when we have proof of the conspiracy, we will return. Not as beggars seeking readmission, but as equals demanding justice. The vote was close but decisive. Humanity would embrace the exile. Torres found himself appointed to a new position. Commander of Deep Space Operations. His mission was simple in concept but vast in scope. Explore the regions of space beyond the quarantine zone. Find worlds the galaxy had not yet discovered. Establish hidden colonies that could support humanity if Earth faced disaster. Do all this without alerting the galactic powers to humanity's expansion. As Torres left Earth aboard a newly commissioned stealth vessel, he looked back at the blue planet. It seemed small and fragile against the darkness. But he knew humanity was neither small nor fragile. They had survived ice ages and plagues, wars and disasters. They would survive this exile too. And somehow, someday they would prove their innocence and reclaim their place among the stars. The transformation. The silent decades. 50 years passed in silence. The galaxy moved on without humanity. Trade routes adjusted. Diplomatic alliances shifted. The Sarthi rebuilt their worlds with assistance from other species. Humanity became a cautionary tale told to young aliens. Look what happens when a species reaches too far, too fast. The quarantine zone remained sealed, monitored by automated defense platforms. No human ship attempted to cross those boundaries. As far as the galaxy knew, humanity had accepted its fate and faded into insignificance. But behind those sealed borders, everything had changed. Commander Torres, now Admiral Torres despite his 70 years, stood in a command center that did not officially exist. The facility floated in deep space, far beyond Earth's solar system, hidden among the debris of an ancient asteroid field. Around him, holographic displays showed the true state of human civilization. What he saw would have shocked the Galactic Assembly beyond measure. Earth's population had not decreased during isolation. Advanced medical technology had extended human lifespans to an average of 150 years. Birth rates remained steady. The home world now supported 12 billion people in cities that touched the sky and burrowed deep underground. Fusion power provided unlimited energy. Automated systems produced food with perfect efficiency. Humanity had not merely survived the exile. They had thrived. The breakthroughs. Dr. Amara Okonkwo presented her weekly report to the Colonial Development Committee. She was the third generation of her family to work in genetic sciences, and her achievements had surpassed both her grandmother and mother. The Galactic Assembly had forbidden certain types of biological research, calling them unethical and dangerous. Without those restrictions, Amara's team had made incredible progress. Humans could now adapt to different planetary environments through controlled genetic modification. A person born on Earth could receive treatments that let them breathe thinner atmospheres, resist higher radiation, or tolerate extreme temperatures. This meant colonies could establish themselves on worlds that would have been impossible before. No need for expensive domed cities or constant life support. Modified humans simply walked on alien soil and lived there naturally. The military applications were equally revolutionary. Soldiers could receive enhancements that improved reflexes, strengthened bones, and accelerated healing. Nothing dramatic enough to create superhumans, but enough to give significant advantages in survival and combat. The ethics committees debated these changes constantly, but ultimately humanity decided that survival justified innovation. Artificial intelligence had advanced even further. The Assembly had restricted AI development, fearing that thinking machines might become uncontrollable threats. Humanity took a different approach. Instead of trying to create artificial minds identical to human consciousness, they developed symbiotic systems. Each human could bond with an AI partner that complemented their thinking rather than replacing it. The AI handled calculations, data analysis, and pattern recognition while the human provided intuition, creativity, and ethical judgment. Torres worked with an AI named Compass. Together they had explored 17 star systems and established 8 hidden colonies. Compass could analyze stellar data in milliseconds, but it was Torres who decided which worlds deserved closer inspection based on intuition developed over decades. Neither could accomplish alone what they achieved together. The expansion. The hidden colonies represented humanity's greatest secret. Maya Chen served as governor of New Horizon, the largest settlement outside the quarantine zone. Her world orbited a yellow star 300 light-years from Earth. The Galactic Assembly had never surveyed this region. Their maps showed it as empty space, unremarkable and unimportant. Perfect for human purposes. New Horizon supported 2 million people across 4 major cities. They had farms, factories, universities, and spaceports. Ships came and went regularly, all using human-developed faster-than-light drives that did not require jump gates. These drives were slower than gate travel, taking weeks to cross distances that gates covered in hours. But they were independent, unmonitored, and impossible for the galaxy to track. 8 colonies like New Horizon existed, each carefully positioned beyond galactic awareness. Together they held 15 million people. Children were born there who had never seen Earth, who knew the exile only as history. They grew up with the understanding that their existence must remain secret. Someday they were told humanity would reveal itself again. But not yet. Not until the time was right. The colonies served another crucial purpose. They proved humanity could expand and prosper without galactic help. Every successful harvest, every new factory, every child born healthy demonstrated human independence. When humanity finally returned to the galactic stage, they would negotiate from strength rather than weakness. The discovery. Agent Marcus Webb had spent 30 years in deep cover. Through genetic modification and surgical alteration, he appeared to be Kelthros. He had infiltrated their government, working his way up through their bureaucratic systems with patience and careful planning. The Kelthros never suspected that one of their senior data analysts was actually human. Webb had access to files that documented 50 years of galactic history. What he found in those files changed everything. The evidence was buried deep, protected by security protocols that took Webb 5 years to bypass. But once he accessed it, the truth became clear. The Kelthros had fabricated the evidence against humanity. They had developed the biological weapon using stolen human genetic samples. They had deployed it against the Sarthi colonies themselves. And they had done it all with careful planning and cold calculation. The motive was simple. The Kelthros wanted to expand their territory and influence. The Sarthi worlds contained resources that the Kelthros needed for their own development. But direct conquest would have violated galactic law and turned other species against them. So they created a scapegoat. Humanity was new to the assembly, not well connected, and conveniently interested in the same resources. Frame the humans, take the worlds, and eliminate a potential rival all at once. Webb copied everything. Detailed plans, communication records, scientific data proving the weapon's true origin, financial transactions showing payments to officials who provided testimony. He packaged it all into a secure transmission and sent it through the hidden relay network back to Earth. Then he disappeared, abandoning his cover identity and fleeing Kelthros space on a human stealth ship that had been waiting for exactly this possibility. The revelation. The transmission reached Earth 3 weeks later. President David Okafor, Alexandra Reeves's successor, reviewed the evidence with his entire cabinet. They had waited 5 decades for this moment. Proof of humanity's innocence, proof of the conspiracy, proof that the Exile had been built on lies. The question was what to do with it. Simply broadcasting the evidence to the Galactic Assembly would not work. The Kelthros would deny everything, claim the data was fabricated, and the Assembly would likely believe them over the exiled humans. Humanity needed something more. They needed leverage. They needed the galaxy to listen whether they wanted to or not. The opportunity came from an unexpected direction. A massive asteroid was detected heading toward the core worlds of galactic civilization. The rock measured 50 kilometers across and was traveling at a significant percentage of light speed. Computer models showed it would impact the heavily populated Draxian homeworld in 8 months. The collision would be an extinction-level event, killing billions and destabilizing the entire galactic economy. The Assembly mobilized every resource to stop the threat. They tried nuclear weapons, but the asteroid's composition made it resistant to conventional explosives. They attempted to alter its course with gravity tractors, but could not generate sufficient force. They considered evacuation, but moving the Draxian population of 14 billion people in 8 months was logistically impossible. Panic spread across dozens of worlds as the deadline approached. Okafor saw humanity's chance. He called an emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council and proposed something audacious. Human scientists had developed weapons that the galaxy had never imagined. Quantum destabilizers that could disintegrate matter at the molecular level. Humanity could destroy that asteroid. But they would do so publicly, demonstrating their capabilities and forcing the galaxy to acknowledge their presence. The return. The ESS Redemption emerged from faster-than-light travel at the edge of Draxian space. She was a warship unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. 5 kilometers long, armed with weapons that made conventional military hardware look primitive, and crewed by the finest officers humanity could train. Admiral Torres commanded from the bridge, with Compass managing the ship's complex systems. The Draxian defense fleet moved to intercept immediately. Dozens of ships surrounded the Redemption, weapons powered and ready. Torres opened a communication channel to broadcast across the entire Galactic Assembly. His message was simple and direct. Humanity had returned. They brought proof of their innocence and a solution to the asteroid crisis. The galaxy could listen or they could watch billions die while human ships departed peacefully. The Eternal Arbiter, who had presided over humanity's exile 50 years earlier, responded personally. His voice carried surprise and barely concealed anger. Humanity was in violation of the quarantine. Any human ship in galactic space would be destroyed. Torres replied calmly. Destroy the ship and the asteroid destroys the Draxian homeworld. Help us prove our innocence and we save 14 billion lives. The choice belongs to the Assembly. Hours of tense negotiation followed. The Draxians did not want human help, but they wanted death even less. The Kelthros argued that humanity's offer was a trick, though their arguments seemed weak and desperate. Other species watched the drama unfold with confusion and growing curiosity. How had humanity built such advanced ships during their isolation? What other capabilities had they developed? Finally, the Arbiter made his decision. Humanity would be allowed to approach the asteroid. If they succeeded in destroying it, the Assembly would hear their evidence about the original attacks. If they failed or if this was some trick, the entire human species would face total military annihilation. Torres accepted the terms. The Redemption approached the massive asteroid with the entire galaxy watching. Every species with the technology to observe had ships and sensors pointed at the scene. Torres gave the order and the quantum destabilizers activated. Beams of twisted energy struck the asteroid's surface. The rock began to vibrate at the molecular level. Pieces started breaking away, each piece disintegrating as it separated from the main mass. Within 20 minutes, an asteroid that had threatened billions simply ceased to exist, reduced to harmless dust. The galaxy watched in stunned silence. Then the questions began. How had humanity developed such weapons? What else had they created during the exile? Torres answered by broadcasting Agent Webb's evidence. Every species in the assembly received the files simultaneously. Detailed proof that the Kelthros had committed genocide and blamed humanity to hide their crime. The Kelthros delegation tried to flee. Galactic security forces stopped them at the dock. The Eternal Arbiter called for an immediate emergency session. This time humanity was not on trial. The Kelthros were. And this time the evidence was overwhelming and undeniable. Admiral Torres stood before the assembly once more. 50 years had passed since his last appearance in this chamber. He was old now, his hair completely white, but his voice remained strong. Humanity spent 5 decades in exile for crimes we did not commit. We spent that time not in bitterness but in growth. We transformed our civilization, expanded our capabilities, and never abandoned our values. Today we return not to seek revenge but to seek justice. The galaxy cast us out. Will the galaxy welcome us back? The vote took 3 days. When it concluded, 38 species voted to restore humanity's membership in the Galactic Assembly. 5 voted against, mostly allies of the Kelthros. The exile was over. Humanity had returned, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again. The end.